At a glittering Hamptons gala, billionaire Cameron Lawton feels more alone than ever, until a chance glance from Serena Hart, a hard-working teacher moonlighting as a server, changes everything. But can love survive when two worlds collide? Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today. The annual summer garden party in the Hamptons was in full swing. White linen tablecloths fluttered in the gentle breeze. Champagne flowed freely from crystal fountains. The who's who of New York society mingled on the perfectly manicured lawn, their laughter rising above the string quartet's melody. Serena Hart adjusted her black server's uniform and sighed. The tray of shrimp skewers was getting heavy, and her feet already hurt in the sensible black shoes she'd worn for the catering job. But she needed the money. Her younger brother Elijah's tuition wasn't going to pay itself. "To remember to smile," Martha, the catering manager, hissed as she passed by. "These people expect service with a smile." Serena forced her lips upward. 6 more hours of this, and she could go back to her modest Brooklyn apartment, kick off these shoes, and grade the stack of essays from her substitute teaching position. On the other side of the garden, Cameron Lawton swirled his champagne and nodded politely, as Vivian Prescott, the daughter of a banking executive, laughed too loudly at something he hadn't meant as a joke. "Oh, Cameron, you're terrible." Vivian placed a manicured hand on his arm. "Daddy says your logistics company is simply revolutionizing the industry. We must have dinner sometime to discuss potential partnerships." Cameron gave her his practiced smile, the one that appeared in business magazines and society pages. At 30, he had perfected the art of seeming engaged while his mind wandered far away. Everyone wanted something from him: his money, his name, his connections. It had been months since he'd had a genuine conversation. "Excuse me," he said, stepping away from Vivian. "I need to speak with someone." He didn't have anyone to speak with. He just needed air. As he crossed the lawn, the party swirled around him. Women in designer dresses, men in tailored suits, all of them part of a world he'd fought to enter. His father's failing logistics company had been on the brink of bankruptcy when Cameron took it over. 5 years of brutal work later, and here he was, a self-made success among those born with silver spoons. So why did he feel so empty? "Shrimp skewer, sir," the voice cut through his thoughts. He turned to find a server holding a tray, but she wasn't looking at him with the usual fawning expression he'd grown used to. In fact, she barely looked at him at all. "Thank you," he said, taking one. That's when she glanced up, and their eyes met. Cameron felt something shift inside him. Her eyes were deep brown, clear and direct. They didn't widen in recognition. They didn't fill with calculation. They simply saw him, not his wealth, not his status, just him. Serena felt the strange intensity of the moment. The man in front of her was handsome in an understated way. Expensive watch, tailored suit, but something in his eyes seemed tired, lonely even. Not that it mattered to her. She broke the gaze and continued moving through the crowd. Cameron watched her walk away, her posture straight, her movements efficient. No flirtatious smile, no lingering look, just a server doing her job. It was the most honest interaction he'd had in months. "Cameron, there you are!" His business partner, David, clapped him on the shoulder. "The Blackwell brothers want to discuss that shipping contract. Come on, this could be huge for us." Cameron nodded and followed, but his eyes searched the crowd for the server with the honest eyes. 2 hours later, Serena slipped into the kitchen for a quick break. Her feet were killing her, and she still had 4 more hours to go. "You okay, honey?" asked Rosa, one of the older servers who had taken Serena under her wing. "Just tired," Serena replied, leaning against the counter. "I was up late grading papers last night." "You work too hard," Rosa said, handing her a glass of water. "Teaching during the week, catering on weekends, when do you have time for yourself?" Serena shrugged. "When Elijah graduates. Until then, it's all about getting him through college." "And what about a social life, a boyfriend?" Rosa wiggled her eyebrows. Serena laughed. "Right. Between work and sleep, I'm supposed to find time to date? Besides, the men I meet either can't handle a woman who works this hard, or they're intimidated by a black woman with ambition." "Not all men are like that," Rosa insisted. "Maybe not, but I haven't met the exceptions yet." Serena drained her water glass. Breaks over, back to the champagne-swilling masses. As she pushed through the swinging kitchen doors, tray in hand, she nearly collided with someone. "I'm so sorry," she began, then stopped when she realized it was the man from earlier, the one with the tired eyes. "No harm done," Cameron said, his voice warmer than the practiced tone he used with the party guests. "I was actually looking for you." Serena raised an eyebrow. "For me? Why?" Cameron hadn't planned what to say. For once in his carefully calculated life, he was acting on impulse. "Water," he finally said. "I was hoping to get some water." Serena pointed toward the bar. "They have water over there, sir." "Of course," he said, feeling foolish. "Thank you." She started to move past him, but he spoke again. "I'm Cameron, by the way." "I know who you are, Mr. Lawton," she said, not unkindly. "Everyone here does." "And you are?" She hesitated. Servers weren't supposed to engage with guests beyond professional courtesy, but there was something in his expression that seemed genuinely interested. "Serena," she said simply. "Serena Hart." "It's nice to meet you, Serena Hart," he said, and he meant it. Martha appeared around the corner, her eyes widening at the sight of Serena chatting with one of the most important guests. "Serena, the patio needs fresh champagne right away," she said sharply. "Duty calls," Serena said to Cameron with a small smile, and she was gone. Cameron watched her walk away, feeling strangely lighter than he had in months. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the party, Serena found herself stationed near the patio, refilling glasses and collecting empty plates. The guests were getting louder as the alcohol flowed freely. "You're not like the others." She turned to find Cameron standing nearby, away from the main crowd. "Excuse me." The other servers tried to flatter the guests, hoping for bigger tips, he said. "You just do your job." "I need the money, not the ego boost," she replied honestly, "and flattery isn't my strong suit." He smiled, and for the first time that day, it reached his eyes. "Refreshing. Everyone here is either trying to impress me or use me." "Must be tough being a millionaire," Serena said with a hint of sarcasm. To her surprise, he laughed. "I probably sound ridiculous to you." "A little," she admitted, "but I get it. People want things from you. It gets exhausting." "Exactly," he said, surprised by her understanding. "What do you do when you're not serving shrimp to the entitled?" "I teach. Substitute work mostly in Brooklyn." His eyebrows rose. "A teacher? Don't look so shocked. Some of us work multiple jobs to make ends meet." Before he could respond, a woman in a red designer dress sauntered up and slipped her arm through his. "Cameron, darling, you're being terribly antisocial. The Astors are asking about you." Her eyes flicked dismissively over Serena. "We need more champagne over there," she said, not even looking at Serena directly. Serena's back stiffened. "Right away, ma'am," she said, her voice cool and professional once more. As she walked away, she heard the woman say, "Honestly, Cameron, chatting with the help, people will talk." Serena didn't hear his response, and she told herself she didn't care. Men like Cameron Lawton lived in a different world, a world where people like her were invisible, except when serving drinks or cleaning up messes. Later that evening, as the party began to wind down, Serena was clearing glasses from a table near the garden when she overheard a conversation between two women. "Cameron Lawton is definitely looking for a wife," said a blonde in a blue dress. "My cousin works at his company, and she says he's been talking about settling down." "Well, he can take his pick," replied her friend. "Half the women here would marry him tomorrow." "It's not just about the money," the blonde insisted. "He's actually decent. Unlike most of the rich guys here, turned his father's failing business around instead of living off a trust fund." Serena tried not to listen but couldn't help herself. "I heard Ashley Williams has been seeing him," the friend said. "Please, Ashley's father wants that merger. She's just doing her family duty." They moved away, their gossip fading into the night. Serena shook her head. Rich people problems. As she headed back toward the kitchen with her tray of empty glasses, she saw Cameron standing alone by the garden path, looking up at the stars. Without his audience, his face looked different, younger, less guarded. She should have walked past. Instead, she paused. "Hiding from your admirers, Mr. Lawton." He turned, and his face brightened when he saw her. "Guilty as charged. And please, call me Cameron." "I should get back to work," she said, but didn't move. "Do you like teaching?" he asked suddenly. The question surprised her. Most people at these events never asked servers about their lives. "I do," she answered honestly. "The kids are great. Challenging sometimes, but worth it. Why substitute work? Why not a permanent position? I'm working on my master's degree, part-time. Once I finish, I can apply for full-time positions with better pay." He nodded, processing this. "And the catering. Pays for my brother's textbooks," she said. "He's a freshman at NYU, smart kid, first in our family to go to college." "You're putting him through school." "Our dad died 3 years ago. It's just me and Elijah now." Cameron was silent for a moment. "That's impressive." Serena shifted uncomfortably under his gaze. "It's what family does." "Not all families," he said quietly. A voice called from the house. "Cameron, where are you?" "The Morgans are leaving." He sighed. "Duty calls. It was nice talking with you, Serena Hart." "Likewise," she said, surprised to find she meant it. As he walked away, she called after him. "Mr. Lawton?" He turned back. "Your guests are lucky," she said. "Most rich people I serve don't even see me. You at least bothered to learn my name." He looked at her for a long moment. "I see you, Serena. I'm just sorry it took me so long." The party finally ended at midnight. Serena helped pack up the catering equipment, her body aching from the long day. "Good tips tonight," Rosa said, counting her money. "How'd you do?" Serena checked her envelope. Her eyebrows shot up. "What is it?" Rosa asked. Serena pulled out several $100 bills. "Someone made a mistake." Rosa peeked at the money and whistled. "That's no mistake, honey. Someone liked you. But I didn't do anything special." "Maybe you did something special without realizing it." Rosa winked. As they loaded the last of the equipment into the catering van, Serena noticed a car idling nearby, a sleek black luxury sedan. The window rolled down, revealing Cameron's face. "Need a ride?" he called. Rosa nudged her. "Go on. I'll cover for you with Martha." "I can't," Serena protested. "It's not appropriate." "Live a little," Rosa urged. "When was the last time a handsome millionaire offered you a ride home?" "Never," Serena admitted. "Then don't start making it a habit. Just enjoy it this once." Before Serena could argue further, Rosa pushed her toward the car and disappeared into the van. Serena approached the sedan cautiously. "This isn't necessary, Mr. Lawton." "Cameron," he corrected. "And I know it's not necessary. I'd like to give you a ride home if you'll let me." "Why?" His smile was genuine. "Because I'd like to continue our conversation without interruptions from people wanting my attention or your boss calling you back to work." Serena hesitated. Everything about this screamed bad idea. Men like him didn't give rides to women like her without expectations. "Just a ride," he said, reading her expression. "My driver will take us, completely professional." She glanced back at the van, where Rosa gave her an encouraging thumbs up. "All right," she said finally. "Just a ride." The interior of the car was all soft leather and that particular smell of luxury. Serena sat stiffly, acutely aware of her server's uniform and tired appearance. "Where to?" Cameron asked. "East Flatbush," she said, giving him her address. If he was surprised by her neighborhood, he didn't show it. He simply relayed the address to his driver and settled back in his seat. "Thank you for the tip," she said. "It was very generous. You earned it. Most people at these events are invisible to the guests. You carry yourself with dignity." "It's just a job," she said. "One of many." "Tell me about your brother," he said, changing the subject. To her surprise, she found herself talking about Elijah's scholarship that covered only part of his tuition, about his dream of becoming an engineer, about how proud their father would have been. Cameron listened without interrupting. When she finished, he said, "My father died too 3 years ago." "I'm sorry," she said. "He was disappointed in me," Cameron admitted. "He built the company from nothing, but in his later years, he made bad decisions. When I took over and changed things, he thought I was betraying his legacy." "Were you?" "I was saving it," he said quietly. "But he died thinking I'd ruined everything he built." The vulnerability in his voice touched something in Serena. "I'm sure he would be proud now, seeing what you've accomplished." "Maybe," he said, not sounding convinced. "What would your father think of you working 2 jobs to put your brother through college?" "He'd tell me to take better care of myself," she admitted, "but he'd understand why I'm doing it." They fell into comfortable silence as the car moved through the quiet streets of Manhattan, across the bridge and into Brooklyn. When they reached her apartment building, Cameron got out and opened her door. "Thank you for the ride," she said. "Thank you for the conversation," he replied. "It's been a long time since I talked to someone who wasn't trying to get something from me." "Well, except for that huge tip," she reminded him with a small smile. He laughed. "Fair point." She started toward her building, then turned back. "Why did you notice me, Mr. Lawton?" "There were dozens of servers there tonight." He considered her question seriously. "Because when you looked at me, you actually saw me. Not my money or my name. Just me. Do you know how rare that is?" Serena nodded slowly. "Almost as rare as a millionaire who sees the server as a person." "Touché," he said. "Good night, Serena Hart." "Good night, Cameron," she replied, using his first name for the first time. As she climbed the stairs to her apartment, she told herself this was just a strange night that would never be repeated. Men like Cameron Lawton didn't belong in her world, and she certainly didn't belong in his. But as she fell into bed, exhausted, She couldn't help replaying their conversations in her mind. For just a few hours, the distance between their worlds had seemed a little less impossible to bridge. In his car heading back to Manhattan, Cameron stared out the window at the passing city lights. For the first time in months he felt awake, alive, all because a server with honest eyes had looked at him and seen the man, not the millionaire. He knew he should let it go. Their worlds were too different. But as his driver navigated the late-night traffic, Cameron knew with absolute certainty that he would find a way to see Serena Hart again. 2 weeks had passed since the Hamptons party, and Serena had almost convinced herself that the encounter with Cameron Lawton had been a strange dream. Almost. She stood at the front of her classroom, explaining adverbs to a group of fidgety fifth graders. The substitute teaching assignment at Parkside Elementary would last 3 weeks while the regular teacher recovered from surgery. "Miss Hart," a young girl called out, "someone's at the door." Serena turned to see the school secretary beckoning her. "Work on your worksheets," she told the class. "I'll be right back." In the hallway, the secretary handed her a delivery slip. "These came for you. I signed for them." "What came for me?" "In the office. They're causing quite a stir." Confused, Serena followed the secretary to the front office, where an enormous arrangement of white lilies sat on the counter. The other teachers were gathered around, admiring them. "Who are they from?" asked Mrs. Peterson, the math teacher. Serena found the small card attached to the arrangement. "Thank you for seeing me. Would you have dinner with me tonight?" Cameron. A phone number was written at the bottom. "Cameron." Mrs. Peterson peered over her shoulder. "Cameron Lawton. The Cameron Lawton." Serena quickly tucked the card into her pocket. "It's not what you think. A billionaire sending you flowers isn't what I think." Mrs. Peterson's eyes were wide. "He's not a billionaire," Serena corrected automatically. "Just a millionaire." The room erupted in excited chatter. "How do you know him?" "Are you dating? Did you meet at one of those fancy parties?" Serena held up her hands. "I served him drinks at a catering job. That's all. He's just being nice." "Men like Cameron Lawton don't send flowers to be nice," said Mrs. Peterson. "They send flowers when they're interested." Serena's cheeks felt warm. "I need to get back to my class." "What are you going to do?" the secretary called after her. "Teach adverbs," Serena replied, walking away quickly. But as she returned to her classroom, her mind wasn't on adverbs at all. Why would Cameron send her flowers? And how did he even know where she worked? That evening, Serena pushed her key into the lock of her apartment door, balancing the lily arrangement in one arm. After debating all day, she decided to take the flowers home. They were too beautiful to waste. "Elijah," she called as she entered. "You home?" Her brother emerged from his bedroom, textbook in hand. At 19, Elijah Hart was tall and lanky, with the same deep brown eyes as his sister. "What's with the flowers?" he asked, helping her set the arrangement on their small dining table. "They're from someone I met at that catering job in the Hamptons." Elijah raised an eyebrow. "Someone sent you flowers at work? Who?" Serena busied herself with adjusting the lilies. "Just a guy, it's not a big deal." "Since when do you get flowers from just a guy?" Elijah peered at the arrangement. "These look expensive." "They probably are," she muttered. Her brother's eyes narrowed. "Serena, who sent these?" she sighed. "Cameron Lawton." Elijah's jaw dropped. "The Cameron Lawton? The guy who owns Lawton Logistics? The millionaire? You know who he is? We studied his business model in my economics class last semester. He turned his dad's failing company into a global powerhouse in just 5 years. Elijah stared at her. "How do you know him?" "I don't. Not really. I served him at the party. We talked a little, and he gave me a ride home. That's it." "That's it? And now he's sending you flowers?" Elijah leaned against the counter. "Sis, what aren't you telling me?" "Nothing. We just connected, I guess. He seemed lonely." "Lonely," Elijah repeated flatly. "The millionaire playboy was lonely." "He's not a playboy," Serena said defensively. "He's actually nice." "Uh-huh." Elijah crossed his arms. "And what does Mr. Nice Millionaire want with my sister?" "Dinner, apparently." She showed him the card. Elijah read it and looked up sharply. "You're not going." "Excuse me?" "Serena, guys like him don't date girls like you, no offense, but you know what I mean. You're from different worlds." "I know that," she said. "And who said anything about dating? It's just dinner." "It's never just dinner with these rich guys, they want something." Serena placed her hands on her hips. "And what exactly do you think he wants?" Elijah had the grace to look embarrassed. "You know what I mean. Guys like that. They see women like you as experiences, temporary. You're not a vacation, Serena. You deserve better than being some rich guy's walk on the wild side." His words stung because they echoed her own fears. "I'm not a child, Elijah. I can take care of myself." "I know you can. But you always put everyone else first. Dad when he was sick, me and my education. For once I'm looking out for you." Serena's expression softened. "I appreciate that, but it's just dinner. If he's a jerk, I'll never see him again." Elijah didn't look convinced. "Promise me you'll be careful, and text me his address and the restaurant before you go." "Yes, Dad," she teased, ruffling his hair the way she had when he was small. After Elijah returned to his studies, Serena took out her phone and looked at the number on the card. Before she could overthink it, she sent a text. "Thank you for the flowers. They're beautiful." "About dinner." She paused, considering her words carefully. "Why me? You could have dinner with anyone." The response came almost immediately. "Because you're the first real person I've met in years." "Is that a yes?" Serena smiled despite herself. "Yes, but I choose the place." Cameron sat in his corner office on the 45th floor of the Lawton building, staring at Serena's text with a smile on his face. She'd said yes. A knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. His assistant, Vanessa, entered with a stack of folders. "The contracts for the Sullivan merger need your signature," she said, placing them on his desk. And Ms. Westfield called again, 3 times. Cameron's smile faded. "Tell Melissa I'm in meetings all day." "I did. She said to remind you about the charity gala next weekend. She's expecting you to escort her." "I never agreed to that." Vanessa raised an eyebrow. "You did, actually. Last month at the museum fundraiser." Cameron vaguely remembered Melissa cornering him about some event. He'd probably agreed just to end the conversation. Melissa Westfield was the daughter of his father's oldest friend and business partner. They'd dated briefly 2 years ago, and though Cameron had ended things, Melissa still acted as though they were together in public settings. "Cancel it," he said. "Tell her I have a prior commitment. Mr. Lawton, the Westfields are major shareholders." "Your father always—" "My father isn't running this company anymore," Cameron interrupted, his voice sharper than intended. "I am, and I have plans that night." "Plans?" Vanessa looked surprised. In the 3 years she'd worked for him, Cameron rarely had personal plans that weren't business-related. "Yes, plans," he repeated, not elaborating. "Now what else needs my attention today?" As Vanessa ran through his schedule, Cameron found his mind wandering back to Serena. He hadn't been able to stop thinking about her since the party. The way she carried herself with quiet dignity. The way she looked at him like he was just a man, not a bank account. He'd had his security team find out where she worked. It had been easy enough. Her catering company kept employee profiles, and a generous donation to the school had loosened lips about her teaching schedule. Perhaps that had been a bit much. But Cameron wasn't used to pursuing women. They usually pursued him, drawn by his wealth and status. Serena was different. She hadn't seemed impressed by either. "And don't forget the board meeting tomorrow at 9, Vanessa finished. "Right, thank you." After she left, Cameron picked up his phone again and sent another text to Serena. "Where should I meet you tonight?" Serena had chosen Mama Rosa's, a small Italian restaurant in her neighborhood. It was nothing fancy. Red checkered tablecloths, candles stuck in Chianti bottles, and the best garlic bread in Brooklyn. If Cameron wanted to see her world, she'd show him her world. She wore a simple navy blue dress she'd bought on sale last year, and her one pair of decent heels. Her hair was pulled back in its usual neat bun. At precisely 7 o'clock, the restaurant door opened, and Cameron walked in. He'd dressed down in dark jeans and a light blue button-down shirt, no tie. Still, he stood out in the modest setting. The restaurant owner, Mama Rosa herself, bustled over to him. "Can I help you, sir?" "I'm meeting someone," Cameron replied, scanning the room until his eyes found Serena. His face brightened. Serena felt a flutter in her stomach as he approached her table. Up close, he looked even more handsome than she remembered. "You came," she said as he sat down. "Did you think I wouldn't?" "I thought you might change your mind when you saw the address." He glanced around the restaurant. "It's charming, smells amazing. Best Italian food in Brooklyn," she said. "No champagne fountains or fancy linens, but the food is honest." "Like you," he said with a smile. The waiter brought them menus, and Cameron studied his with interest. "What do you recommend?" "The lasagna is incredible. So is the eggplant parmesan." They ordered, and an awkward silence fell between them. In the real world, away from the party, their differences seemed more pronounced. "So," she finally said, "how did you find out where I teach?" He had the grace to look slightly embarrassed. "I asked around." "You mean you had someone investigate me?" "Not investigate exactly. Just find out where you worked so I could send the flowers. Most people would just ask for a phone number." Would you have given it to me? She considered this. Probably not. He laughed. That's what I thought. Their wine arrived and Cameron raised his glass. 2 honest conversations. 2 honest conversations, she echoed, clinking her glass against his. As they ate, the initial awkwardness faded. They talked about their work, about books they'd read, about growing up in New York. Cameron in a wealthy suburb, Serena in the heart of Brooklyn. My dad was a bus driver, she told him. Worked the same route for 30 years. He knew every regular passenger by name. He sounds like a good man. The best, she said softly. He got sick my senior year of college, lung cancer. By the time they caught it, it was too late. I'm sorry, Cameron said, his eyes sincere. He held on long enough to see me graduate. Made Elijah promise to finish college too. She swirled her wine. What about your father? You said he was disappointed in you? Cameron's expression grew distant. He built the company from nothing. Started with 1 truck driving shipments himself, but he was old school. Refused to adapt to new technologies, new markets. By the time I joined the company, we were losing millions. And you turned it around. I had to make hard decisions, cut traditional divisions, invest in new ones. My father saw it as a betrayal of everything he'd built. Cameron's voice held old pain. He died thinking I'd destroyed his legacy. But you saved the company. Yes, but I lost my father in the process. He shook his head. Sorry. This isn't exactly light dinner conversation, I asked, she reminded him, and I prefer real conversations to small talk. Me too, he said, his eyes warm. That's what I like about you, Serena. You're real in a way most people in my life aren't. The sincerity in his voice made her pulse quicken. I'm nothing special, Cameron. Just a regular person trying to get by. That's where you're wrong, he said quietly. You're extraordinary. Before she could respond, the waiter arrived with dessert menus. The moment passed, but Serena felt something shift between them, a connection deepening beyond mere curiosity. After dinner, they walked along the quiet Brooklyn streets. The night was cool, and stars peeked through the city's light pollution. Thank you for tonight, Cameron said. Best meal I've had in months. Better than the fancy restaurants you usually go to? Much better. Those places are about being seen, not about enjoying the food. They reached a small park, and Serena led him to a bench overlooking a modest fountain. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Can I ask you something? She finally said. Anything. Why me, really? You live in a world of beautiful, sophisticated women who would do anything to be with you. I'm just a substitute teacher who serves drinks on weekends. Cameron turned to face her. Do you know what it's like to be surrounded by people who only see you as a means to an end, who calculate what they can get from you with every smile, every conversation? She shook her head. It's exhausting, he continued, and lonely. Then I meet you, and you look at me like I'm just a person. You talk to me like what I have to say matters, not because of who I am, but because you're actually listening. Do you know how rare that is in my world? But we're so different, she said quietly. You saw where I live. You know what my life is like. I don't care about that, he insisted. You should, because everyone else will. Serena stood up, suddenly needing space. Cameron, let's be realistic. What happens when you take me to one of your fancy events? When your friends and business associates see you with someone like me? I'm not part of your world. Maybe I don't want that world anymore, he said, standing to join her. Maybe I want something real. The earnestness in his voice made her heart ache. It's not that simple. It could be, he said, stepping closer, if we let it. He was close enough now that she could feel the warmth of him, smell his expensive cologne. I should get home, she said, her voice not quite steady. Elijah will worry. Can I see you again? Cameron asked. Everything logical in Serena's mind told her to say no, to end this now, before she got hurt, before she fell for a man whose world would never truly accept her, but her heart spoke louder. Yes, his smile was like sunrise. Tomorrow, she laughed. I have papers to grade tomorrow. Monday? Monday, he agreed. I'll call you. They walked back to her apartment building in comfortable silence. At her door, he took her hand gently. Thank you for tonight, Serena, for showing me your world. It's not much compared to yours, she said. It's better, he replied honestly. It's real. He leaned down slowly, giving her time to pull away if she wanted, but she didn't. His lips met hers in a soft, gentle kiss that ended too soon. Good night, Serena Hart, he whispered. Good night, Cameron, she replied, her heart racing. As she watched him walk to his waiting car, Serena touched her lips, still feeling the warmth of his kiss. She was falling for him, a man from a different world, a different life. It was probably a mistake, but it felt more right than anything had in a very long time. The next morning, Serena was making coffee when Elijah emerged from his bedroom, yawning. "How was dinner with Mr. Moneybags?" he asked, reaching for a mug. "His name is Cameron," she corrected. "And it was nice." Elijah studied her face. "Uh-oh, you like him? He's different than I expected." "They always seem different at first," Elijah warned, "until you realize you're just a novelty to them." "It's not like that," Serena insisted, but doubt crept in. Was she just being naive? Before she could dwell on it, her phone chimed with a text message. "Good morning. I can't stop thinking about last night. Looking forward to Monday. Cameron." A smile spread across her face as she read it. "That's him, isn't it?" Elijah asked, watching her expression. "Maybe," she admitted. "Just be careful, sis. I don't want to see you get hurt when he goes back to his own kind." "His own kind?" Serena raised an eyebrow. "What is he, a different species?" "Might as well be. The super-rich live by different rules." She wanted to argue, but part of her feared Elijah might be right. Could something real grow between her and Cameron when their worlds were so far apart? Across the city, Cameron sat in his penthouse apartment, drinking coffee and looking out at the Manhattan skyline. But instead of seeing the view he'd paid millions for, he was seeing Serena's smile. Feeling the softness of her lips against his phone rang, interrupting his thoughts. The screen showed Melissa Westfield. With a sigh, he answered. "Melissa." "Cameron, darling." Her voice dripped with false sweetness. "Vanessa gave me some ridiculous message about you canceling our plans for the charity gala. I told her she must be mistaken." "No mistake," he said firmly. "I have other plans that night." A pause. "What other plans could possibly be more important than the Children's Hospital Gala? The entire board will be there. Your father never missed it." "I'm not my father," Cameron said, an edge creeping into his voice. "And my plans are personal." "Personal?" Melissa's tone sharpened. "What does that mean?" "It means they're not your concern, Melissa. We broke up 2 years ago, remember?" "We're on a break," she corrected smoothly. "Everyone knows we'll end up together eventually. Our families have always been aligned, and the merger—" "There is no merger," he interrupted. "And we're not on a break. We're over. This is about that server, isn't it?" Melissa's voice turned cold. "The one you were talking to at the Hamptons party. Don't think people didn't notice, Cameron." He stiffened. "You don't know what you're talking about." "Please," she scoffed. "I had her checked out. Serena Hart, substitute teacher from Brooklyn, lives in a dingy apartment with her brother. Hardly your usual type." Anger flared in Cameron's chest. "Stay away from her, Melissa. I mean it." "Oh my God," Melissa laughed, the sound brittle. "You actually like this girl? How quaint. What's next, Cameron? Moving to Brooklyn? Taking the subway?" "Goodbye, Melissa," he said coldly and hung up. He sat there for a long moment, troubled by the conversation. Melissa wouldn't let this go easily. She'd spent 2 years positioning herself as his inevitable partner in the eyes of their social circle. A woman like Melissa didn't handle rejection well, and now she knew about Serena. Cameron poured himself more coffee, trying to shake off his unease. He wouldn't let Melissa interfere. What he felt for Serena was real, more real than anything he'd experienced in years. His phone chimed with a text. It was from his Aunt Eleanor, the only family member he was truly close to. "Lunch today? I heard rumors you're canceling on the Westfields. I want details." Cameron smiled. Aunt Eleanor had never liked Melissa, calling her that calculating barracuda behind her back. "Lunch sounds great. I have a lot to tell you." He sent the text, feeling lighter. Eleanor would understand about Serena. Unlike his father, his aunt had always valued authenticity over status. As he gazed out at the city, Cameron realized something had changed within him. For years he'd been going through the motions, running the company, attending the right events, dating the right women, all of it empty. Then Serena Hart had looked at him with those honest eyes, and suddenly he wanted more, wanted something real. The question was, could a woman like Serena ever truly fit into his world? Or more importantly, could he fit into hers? For the first time in his adult life, Cameron Lawton found himself uncertain about the future. And strangely, that uncertainty felt like freedom. The next 2 weeks passed in a whirlwind. Serena and Cameron met whenever their schedules allowed. For coffee after her teaching day, for walks in the park on weekends, for quiet dinners at small neighborhood restaurants. Each meeting deepened their connection. Cameron found himself laughing more than he had in years. Serena discovered that beneath his wealthy exterior was a man with genuine kindness and surprising depth. "Tell me something you've never told anyone," she asked him one evening as they sat on a bench overlooking the East River. Cameron was quiet for a moment. "I've thought about selling the company." Serena turned to him in surprise. "Really? But it's your family legacy. You worked so hard to save it." "I saved it for my father," he admitted, "to prove I could. But lately, I've been wondering if it's what I really want." "What would you do instead?" "I don't know. Something that matters. Something that helps people." He looked at her with vulnerable eyes. "What would you do if money wasn't an issue? If you didn't have to work 2 jobs to support Elijah?" Serena considered the question. "I'd still teach, but I'd open a community center in my neighborhood, a place where kids could go after school, get help with homework, learn music and art. So many of my students don't have anywhere safe to go after the final bell." Cameron watched her face as she spoke, captivated by the passion in her voice. "You really care about those kids. They deserve someone who cares," she said simply. He took her hand, weaving his fingers through hers. "You're remarkable, Serena Hart." She smiled but looked away, still uncomfortable with his compliments. Part of her was waiting for the other shoe to drop, for the moment when he realized they were too different, when the novelty of dating a schoolteacher from Brooklyn wore off. "What are you thinking?" he asked, sensing her withdrawal. "I'm thinking this feels too good to be true," she admitted. "People like you don't end up with people like me." "What kind of people are we?" "You know what I mean. Different worlds." He turned her face gently toward his. "Maybe it's time for new worlds." His kiss silenced her doubts, at least for the moment. Eleanor Lawton regarded her nephew over the rim of her teacup. At 70, she retained the elegance and sharp wit that had made her a formidable presence in New York society for decades. "You're different," she observed, setting down her cup. "Happier." They sat in the sunroom of her Upper East Side townhouse, sharing their weekly Sunday tea, a tradition since Cameron was a boy. "Am I?" he asked with a small smile. "Don't play coy. It doesn't suit you." Eleanor's eyes twinkled. "It's a woman, isn't it? And not that Westfield barracuda, thank heavens." Cameron laughed. "Her name is Serena." "Ah, the schoolteacher. Melissa has been spreading rather vicious rumors." His smile vanished. "What rumors? That you're having some sort of breakdown, slumming with the help." Eleanor waved a dismissive hand. "Typical Melissa nonsense." Cameron's jaw tightened. "Serena isn't the help. She's intelligent, kind, and more genuine than anyone in our social circle." "Defensive," Eleanor noted with approval. "Good. You must care for her." "I do," he admitted. "More than I expected to." "Then when do I get to meet her?" Cameron hesitated. "She's cautious about entering my world. She thinks people won't accept her." "Smart girl." Eleanor's voice turned serious. "She's right to be concerned. Society can be cruel to outsiders." "You think I should end it?" he asked, surprised by his aunt's response. "I think," Eleanor said carefully, "that if she matters to you, you need to be prepared to fight for her. Your father spent his life chasing acceptance from people who didn't deserve his time. Don't make the same mistake." Cameron considered her words. "I want her in my life, Aunt Eleanor. Then make a place for her, not by forcing her into our world, but by creating something new." Eleanor reached for a cookie. "Now tell me about this charity gala you're skipping. The Westfields are beside themselves." "Let them be," Cameron said, his resolve strengthening. "I have more important plans." Serena stared at the dress laid out on her bed with a mixture of awe and anxiety. The deep green silk shimmered in the late afternoon light, streaming through her bedroom window. "Is that what I think it is?" Elijah asked from the doorway. "If you think it's a ridiculously expensive dress that Cameron sent over, then yes." Serena touched the fabric gently. "For his company's anniversary dinner tonight." "You're actually going?" Elijah leaned against the doorframe, concern etched on his young face. "I said I would." She met her brother's eyes in the mirror. "He wants me there." "Of course he does. But what about what you want?" Serena turned to face him. "What's that supposed to mean? Just that you've been seeing this guy for what, 3 weeks? And suddenly you're going to some fancy corporate dinner where everyone will be judging you." "They might surprise us," she said, not entirely convinced herself. Elijah snorted. "Sure. Rich people are known for their open-mindedness and acceptance of outsiders. Cameron isn't like that," she insisted. "Maybe he isn't, but his world is." Elijah sat on the edge of her bed. "Look, I'm not trying to ruin this for you. I just don't want to see you hurt when reality sets in." "And what reality is that?" "That guys like him might slum it for a while, but they always go back to their own kind." The words stung. "Is that what you think I am to him? Slumming it?" Elijah's expression softened. "No. I think he probably really likes you, But liking someone isn't always enough when your whole life is pulling you in another direction. Serena turned back to the mirror, studying her reflection. The woman looking back at her seemed uncertain, caught between worlds. "I have to give this a chance," she said finally. "If I don't, I'll always wonder." Elijah stood and kissed the top of her head. "Then knock 'em dead, sis. Show those rich snobs what real class looks like." After he left, Serena picked up her phone and sent a text to Cameron. "Getting ready. Nervous." His reply came immediately. "Don't be. You're the only person who matters to me tonight." Serena smiled, but the butterflies in her stomach didn't subside. Tonight would be their first public appearance together in his world. Everything would change. The ballroom of the Plaza Hotel glittered with crystal chandeliers and the jewelry of New York's elite. Lawton Logistics was celebrating its 30th anniversary, and everyone who mattered in business and society had turned out for the event. Cameron stood near the entrance, checking his watch for the third time in 5 minutes. "Relax," said David, his business partner and oldest friend. "She'll be here." What if she changed her mind? Cameron couldn't remember ever feeling this nervous. "Then you'll go to Brooklyn and change it back," David replied. "But she won't. Not after the way you've been mooning over her for weeks." Cameron was about to respond when he saw her. Serena stood in the doorway, a vision in emerald silk. The dress hugged her curves perfectly, her usual simple bun replaced by an elegant updo that revealed the graceful line of her neck. But it was her eyes that captivated him, wide, slightly apprehensive, searching the crowd until they found him. The world around him faded as he moved toward her. "You came," he said when he reached her, taking her hands in his. "I said I would." Her smile was shy but determined. "How do I look?" "Like a dream," he answered honestly. He tucked her hand into the crook of his arm and led her into the ballroom. Heads turned as they passed. Whispers followed in their wake. "Everyone's staring," Serena murmured. "Let them," Cameron replied. "They're just jealous I have the most beautiful woman in the room." He led her through the crowd, introducing her to business associates and friends. Some were genuinely warm, others barely concealed their surprise and curiosity. "So you're a teacher?" asked Jonathan Pierce, a board member. "How fulfilling that must be." "It is," Serena replied evenly. "Shaping young minds is more rewarding than quarterly reports." Cameron suppressed a smile at the momentary shock on Pierce's face. "Well said," came a voice from behind them. They turned to find Eleanor Lawton approaching, elegant in midnight blue. "The world needs more teachers and fewer corporate drones." "Aunt Eleanor," Cameron greeted her with a kiss on the cheek. "I'd like you to meet Serena Hart." "Serena, this is my aunt, Eleanor Lawton." "The only Lawton with any sense," Eleanor said, extending her hand to Serena. "Cameron has told me so much about you." "It's a pleasure to meet you," Serena replied, instantly warming to the older woman's direct manner. "The pleasure is mine. Now tell me, how are you finding our little gathering? Dreadfully dull, I expect." "It's different from what I'm used to," Serena admitted. "Thank goodness for that," Eleanor said with a wink. "We could use some different around here." As they chatted, Cameron felt a weight lift from his shoulders. Eleanor's approval mattered more to him than anyone else's, but the moment of peace was shattered by a familiar voice. "Cameron, darling," Melissa Westfield approached, stunning in a red dress that left little to the imagination. "You've been avoiding me." She air-kissed his cheek before turning cool eyes on Serena. "And this must be your friend, the server, right?" Cameron stiffened. "Melissa, this is Serena Hart, my girlfriend." The word hung in the air between them. He hadn't discussed labels with Serena yet, but in that moment it felt right. Melissa's smile didn't reach her eyes. "How quaint. And what do you do, Serena, when you're not serving drinks?" "I teach," Serena replied calmly. "5th grade. How noble." Melissa's voice dripped with condescension. "It must be so rewarding working with children from challenging backgrounds." Eleanor stepped forward. "More rewarding than being arm candy for investment bankers, I imagine." Melissa's face flushed. "Eleanor, always a pleasure." "Wish I could say the same," Eleanor replied sweetly. "Cameron, I believe they're about to serve dinner. Shall we?" As they moved toward the dining area, Serena squeezed Cameron's arm. "Girlfriend," she whispered. "Too soon?" he asked, suddenly uncertain. Her smile was radiant. "No, not too soon." Dinner was a lavish affair, with each course more elaborate than the last. Serena sat beside Cameron at the head table, acutely aware of the curious glances directed their way. "Don't mind them," Cameron whispered. "They're just not used to seeing me happy." His words warmed her, but she couldn't shake the feeling of being under a microscope. Every forkful, every sip of wine felt scrutinized. Halfway through the meal, Cameron was called away to speak with some investors. Eleanor promptly took his empty seat. "You're handling this remarkably well," the older woman observed. "Most would be intimidated." "Who says I'm not?" Serena admitted. "But you're here anyway. That takes courage." Eleanor's shrewd eyes studied her. "You care for my nephew." It wasn't a question. "Yes," Serena answered simply. "More than I expected to." "Good. He needs someone who sees him, not his bank account." Eleanor sipped her wine. "But I should warn you, dear. Not everyone will be as accepting as I am. The Westfield woman is just the beginning." "I know," Serena said quietly. "I've been telling Cameron that all along." "And what has he said?" "That it doesn't matter. That we can create our own world." Eleanor's expression softened. "He sounds like his mother. She had that same romantic streak." She leaned closer. "The question is, do you believe him?" Before Serena could answer, Cameron returned, sliding into his seat beside her. "Everything okay here?" "Perfect," Eleanor assured him. "I was just getting to know your Serena better." The rest of the evening passed in a blur of speeches and congratulations. Cameron kept Serena close, his hand rarely leaving hers. When he took the stage to address the crowd, his eyes found hers in the audience. 30 years ago, my father started this company with one truck and a dream," he began. "He taught me the value of hard work, perseverance, and integrity. But recently I've been reminded of something else he used to say, that success means nothing if you have no one to share it with." His gaze held Serena's. "I'm grateful tonight not just for this company's success, but for the people who make life meaningful, who remind us that there's more to life than balance sheets and profit margins." Warmth spread through Serena's chest at his words. For the first time that evening, she felt truly seen, not as an outsider, but as someone who mattered. As the formal part of the evening ended and the dancing began, Cameron pulled her onto the dance floor. The orchestra played a slow waltz, and he held her close. "Thank you for coming tonight," he murmured against her hair. "Thank you for wanting me here," she replied, melting into his embrace. Over his shoulder she caught sight of Melissa watching them, her expression venomous, but in Cameron's arms it was easy to ignore the hostility. As the evening wound down, they said their goodbyes to Eleanor and the remaining guests. Outside, Cameron's driver waited with the car. "Your place or mine?" he asked quietly. It was the first time he'd suggested they spend the night together. Serena hesitated only briefly. "Yours," she decided. "But I need to text Elijah." In the back of the car, Cameron pulled her close. "You were amazing tonight. Everyone loved you." "Not everyone," she said, thinking of Melissa and the others who had barely hidden their disdain. "The ones who matter did," he insisted. "Aunt Eleanor adores you." "She's wonderful," Serena agreed. "I see where you get your kindness." They rode in comfortable silence, her head resting on his shoulder. Despite the tensions of the evening, Serena felt a growing certainty that what they had was real, worth fighting for, worth the inevitable challenges. Cameron's penthouse took up the entire top floor of an exclusive building with views of Central Park. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed the city spread out below them like a carpet of lights. "This is where you live?" Serena asked, taking in the spacious living room with its minimalist furnishings and priceless art. "When I'm not working," he said, watching her reaction. "What do you think?" "It's beautiful," she admitted. "But it doesn't feel like you." His eyebrows rose. "What do you mean?" "It's like a showroom. Perfect, but impersonal." She turned to him. "Where are the things that matter to you? Photos? Books? Anything with history?" Cameron looked around as if seeing the space for the first time. "I have some family photos in the study and books, but you're right. It's more of a place to sleep than a home." "Unlike your office," she reminded him. "That space feels like you." He smiled, remembering how she'd noticed the family photos and well-worn books he kept there when he'd given her a tour of his company headquarters the week before. "Maybe I need a woman's touch around here," he suggested, pulling her into his arms. "Maybe you just need to bring more of yourself home," she countered, but leaned into his embrace. Their lips met in a kiss that quickly deepened. All the tension and uncertainty of the evening melted away as Cameron led her toward his bedroom. "Stay with me tonight," he whispered against her lips. "Yes," she answered simply. Morning sunlight streamed through the windows, waking Serena from the deepest sleep she'd had in weeks. She stretched luxuriously, feeling the expensive sheets against her bare skin. The space beside her was empty, but she could smell coffee. Cameron appeared in the doorway, wearing only pajama bottoms and carrying 2 mugs. "Good morning," he said, his eyes warm as they traveled over her. "Sleep well?" Better than I have in ages, she admitted, sitting up and holding the sheet to her chest. What time is it? Just after 8. He handed her a mug and sat beside her on the bed. I called the school and told them you'd be late. Family emergency. She raised an eyebrow. Family emergency? I consider this an emergency, he said, leaning in to kiss her. Having you in my bed for the first time, and being expected to let you leave. Serena laughed. I still have to go to work, Cameron. I know. He sighed dramatically. Responsibility. Such an inconvenient trait in a girlfriend. The word sent a pleasant shiver through her. Girlfriend, she repeated. Is that what I am? If you want to be, he said, suddenly serious. I know it's fast, but I've never felt this way before, Serena. When I'm with you, everything makes sense. She set down her coffee and took his hands. It's fast for me, too, and scary. Our worlds are so different. Do they have to be? He asked. What if we created our own world, one that takes the best of both? Is that possible? I think so. He squeezed her hands, but only if we both want it. Serena looked into his eyes and saw sincerity, hope, and something that looked remarkably like love. I want it, she said softly. His kiss was tender, full of promise. When they finally broke apart, he rested his forehead against hers. Then it settled. You're my girlfriend and we're creating our own world, she smiled. Just like that? Just like that, he confirmed. Though I should warn you, some people won't make it easy. Like Melissa. Melissa is the least of our worries, he said grimly. The board members, my father's old friends, certain shareholders, they have expectations about who I should be with. Someone like Melissa, Serena said, the doubt creeping back. Someone who looks good in photos but doesn't challenge the status quo, he corrected. I'm done with that life, Serena. I want something real. His phone buzzed on the nightstand. He glanced at it and frowned. What is it? She asked. Board meeting in an hour, he said. I forgot. I should get ready for work anyway, she said, moving to get up. He caught her hand. Come to dinner tonight, at Eleanor's. She specifically asked for you to be there. I'd like that, Serena said, touched by the invitation. As they prepared for their days, Serena borrowing one of his shirts to wear with her dress from the night before, Cameron donning his business suit, there was a new ease between them, a sense of possibility. My driver will take you home to change, then to school, Cameron said, as they rode the elevator down to the lobby. I can take the subway, she protested. Humor me, he said, kissing her temple. In the lobby, he pulled her close for one last kiss. I'll pick you up at 7 for dinner with Eleanor. I'll be ready, she promised. Neither of them noticed the woman watching from across the lobby, her face twisted with anger. Melissa Westfield pulled out her phone and dialed. It's me, she said when the call connected. She spent the night at his place. Things are worse than we thought. She listened for a moment, then nodded. Yes, I understand. It's time to move forward with the plan. As Serena climbed into Cameron's waiting car, a sense of foreboding settled over her happiness. Something told her their new world wouldn't come without a fight. The next few weeks passed in a haze of happiness for Serena and Cameron. Their relationship deepened as they carved out time together despite their busy schedules. Serena finished her substitute teaching assignment and began a new one at a middle school closer to her apartment. Cameron delegated more responsibilities at work to spend evenings with her in Brooklyn. They built a routine, quiet dinners at her small apartment, walks through her neighborhood where Cameron greeted the local shopkeepers by name, weekend brunches with Elijah, who was slowly warming to the idea of his sister dating a millionaire. He's different than I expected, Elijah admitted one Sunday after Cameron had left. Less rich and snobby, Serena suggested with a smile. Yeah, Elijah shrugged. He actually listens when I talk about my engineering classes, even offered to introduce me to some people in the field. See, I told you he was one of the good ones. Just be careful, sis. Things are going well now, but what? Elijah hesitated. I saw something online about you and Cameron. Serena's stomach tightened. What about us? He pulled out his phone and showed her a society gossip page. There was a photo of her and Cameron entering the Plaza Hotel for his company's anniversary dinner. The caption read, Lawton Logistics heir slumming it with Brooklyn school teacher. Midlife crisis or genuine romance? Ignore it, Serena said, pushing the phone away. It's just gossip. There's more, Elijah said reluctantly, scrolling down. They're saying you're after his money, that you're trying to trap him. Anger flashed through Serena. That's ridiculous. I know that. You know that. But his world doesn't. She took a deep breath. Cameron doesn't care what those people think. Maybe not, Elijah conceded. But will they make life difficult for you? For him? The question lingered in Serena's mind long after Elijah left for the library. Would Cameron's world ever truly accept her? Or would she always be the outsider, the gold digger, the woman not good enough for Cameron Lawton? Cameron sat in his office, reviewing contracts, when his assistant buzzed him. "Ms. Westfield is here to see you. She says it's urgent." He sighed. "Send her in." Melissa swept into the office looking immaculate in a designer suit, her blonde hair perfectly styled. "Cameron," she said, settling into the chair across from his desk without waiting for an invitation. "We need to talk." "I'm busy, Melissa. What do you want?" She placed a tablet on his desk and slid it toward him. "Have you seen this?" It was the same gossip page Elijah had shown Serena. Cameron glanced at it dismissively. "Tabloid garbage, is that all?" "It's not just one article, Cameron. It's all over the society pages. People are talking." "Let them talk," he said coldly. "I don't care." "Well, you should care." Melissa leaned forward. "The board is concerned." That got his attention. "The board has no say in my personal life." "They do when it affects the company," she countered. "Your father built a reputation of class and dignity. Now you're running around with some teacher from Brooklyn. It reflects poorly on the Lawton name." Cameron's jaw tightened. "Be very careful what you say next, Melissa." "I'm trying to help you," she insisted. "We've known each other our whole lives. I care about you. If you cared about me, you'd respect my relationship with Serena." Melissa's expression hardened. "She's not right for you, Cameron. She doesn't understand our world." "Maybe I don't want that world anymore," he replied. "Maybe I've found something better." "Don't be naive. You're Cameron Lawton. You have responsibilities, expectations. The Children's Hospital Gala is this weekend. Everyone will be watching to see who you bring." "I'm bringing Serena," he said firmly. "The board won't like that." "I don't care what the board likes." Cameron stood up, signaling the end of the conversation. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have work to do." Melissa rose slowly. "You're making a mistake, Cameron. One you'll regret." After she left, Cameron sat heavily in his chair. The gossip didn't bother him, but the board's involvement did. His father's old friends still held significant influence. If they decided Serena was a liability, he picked up his phone and dialed. "Aunt Eleanor, I need your advice." Serena was grading papers in her classroom when her phone buzzed with a text from Cameron. "Dinner tonight at my place? Need to talk about something important." A knot formed in her stomach. Need to talk was never a good sign. Had he seen the gossip articles? Was he having second thoughts? "Sure." "What time?" she replied, trying to keep her anxiety at bay. 7 so, I'll send the car." The rest of the day dragged. By the time she arrived at Cameron's penthouse that evening, Serena had imagined every possible scenario, most of them involving Cameron ending things because of the pressure from his world. He greeted her at the door with a kiss, but she could sense tension in him. "What's wrong?" she asked directly. He led her to the living room where a bottle of wine waited. "We need to talk about the Children's Hospital Gala this weekend." "Melissa mentioned it at the anniversary dinner," Serena recalled. "It's a big deal, right?" "The biggest charity event of the year," he confirmed, pouring wine for both of them. "My father was on the hospital board. The Lofton family has always been major donors." "And you want me to go with you?" she guessed. "Yes, but there's more to it." He sat beside her on the couch. "Melissa came to see me today. She showed me some gossip articles about us." Serena's heart sank. "Elijah showed me too. They're saying I'm after your money." "I don't care about that," Cameron said, taking her hand. "But the board of my company is apparently concerned about my choice of companion." "Because I'm not from your world," she said quietly. "Because they're stuck in the past," he corrected. "My father's era, when appearances mattered more than substance. And the gala. All of them will be there. The board members, the shareholders, my father's old friends." He squeezed her hand. "I want you by my side, but I need you to know it might be uncomfortable. People might say things, like I'm a gold digger, not good enough for you." Her voice was steady despite the hurt. "None of which is true," he said fiercely. "I don't care what they think, Serena. I care about you, about us." She studied his face. But nothing. "I just wanted to prepare you. We can skip it if you want." "No," she said after a moment. "I won't hide from them. If I'm going to be part of your life, I need to face your world head on." Relief washed over his features. "I was hoping you'd say that." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. "I got you something." "Cameron," she began warily. "It's not what you think," he said with a smile, opening the box to reveal a delicate gold necklace with a small diamond pendant. "I just wanted you to have something special for the gala. It's beautiful." she whispered as he fastened it around her neck. But you don't need to buy me things. I know, he said, kissing her softly. That's one of the reasons I love you. The words hung in the air between them. He hadn't planned to say it yet, but now that he had, he didn't regret it. You love me? She asked, her voice barely audible. I do, he said simply. I love you, Serena Hart. Tears welled in her eyes. I love you too. But Cameron, your world will adapt, he finished for her, or it won't be my world anymore. The night of the Children's Hospital Gala arrived with a flurry of anticipation. Serena stood in her bedroom, staring at the gown Cameron had sent over, a stunning creation of midnight blue silk that probably cost more than 3 months of her teaching salary. You look like a princess, Rosa said from the doorway. The older woman had come over to help Serena prepare for the evening. I feel like an imposter, Serena admitted, smoothing the fabric nervously. Nonsense, Rosa scoffed, adjusting the gown's neckline. You belong wherever you choose to be, and that man adores you. His world doesn't. Then change his world, Rosa said simply. Now hold still while I fix your hair. An hour later, when Cameron arrived to pick her up, his expression of awe made all the anxiety worth it. You are breathtaking, he said, drinking in the sight of her in the gown, her hair swept up in an elegant style that highlighted the diamond necklace he'd given her. You clean up pretty well yourself, she teased, admiring his tuxedo. In the car, he briefed her on what to expect. The hospital board will make speeches. There's a silent auction, dinner, dancing, standard charity event, and everyone who matters will be there, she added. Everyone who thinks they matter, he corrected. The only person who matters to me will be right beside me. When they arrived at the Metropolitan Museum of Art where the gala was being held, photographers lined the entrance. Serena tensed at the sight of them. We can go in the side entrance, Cameron offered. No, she said, lifting her chin. I'm not hiding. He smiled proudly, taking her hand. That's my girl. Flashbulbs exploded as they walked the red carpet. Cameron kept her close, his hand steady at the small of her back. Inside, the museum's grand hall had been transformed into a glittering wonderland of lights and flowers. New York's elite mingled, champagne flutes in hand, jewels sparkling under the chandeliers. Cameron? Eleanor approached, resplendent in purple. And Serena, my dear, you look marvelous. Thank you for helping me find the dress, Serena said, embracing the older woman who had become a surprising ally. The dress is merely a frame. You're the masterpiece, Eleanor declared. Now let me introduce you to some people who aren't complete bores. As Eleanor led them through the crowd, Serena felt the stares and whispers. Some greeted her warmly, clearly taking their cue from Eleanor's acceptance. Others barely acknowledged her, their disdain thinly veiled. Ignore them, Cameron whispered. They're just jealous. At the bar, they ran into David, Cameron's business partner, with his wife Maria. Serena, Maria greeted her warmly. I'm so glad you came. These events are dreadful without friendly faces. Maria was a kindergarten teacher before she married David, Cameron explained. She understands what it's like to enter this world from the outside. It's like learning a foreign language, Maria said with a sympathetic smile. All these unspoken rules and codes, but you'll get the hang of it. If I want to, Serena replied honestly. Maria laughed. I like her, Cameron. Keep this one. That's the plan, he said, his eyes never leaving Serena's face. As they moved toward their table for dinner, a group of older men intercepted them. Cameron, said one, a distinguished man in his 60s, we need to speak with you privately. Cameron's expression hardened. Anything you need to say to me, you can say in front of Serena. The man glanced dismissively at her. This is board business. Then it can wait until Monday, Cameron replied firmly. It concerns your personal choices, another man said pointedly, and their impact on the company. Serena felt herself flush. I should freshen up, she said, looking for an escape. I'll meet you at the table. No, Cameron's voice was quiet but firm. Robert, George, whatever you have to say can be said now, in front of my girlfriend. The older men exchanged uncomfortable glances. Very well, said Robert. The board is concerned about your recent association. The gossip columns are having a field day. Shareholders are asking questions. About my private life, which is none of their business, Cameron replied coldly. It becomes their business when it affects stock prices, George countered. Your father understood the importance of appearances. My father is gone, Cameron said, his voice rising slightly, and so is his outdated view of what makes a suitable partner. People nearby began to notice the confrontation, conversations faltering as attention turned their way. We're simply asking you to consider the company's reputation, Robert insisted. The Lofton name stands for something. Yes, it does, Cameron agreed. It stands for integrity, innovation, and value, none of which has anything to do with who I choose to love. The word love rippled through the onlookers. Serena felt her heart racing as Cameron continued. Serena Hart is the most genuine, caring, intelligent woman I've ever known. She works harder than anyone in this room, caring for children who need her, supporting her brother through college, building a meaningful life with her own 2 hands. His voice carried across the now silent hall. If any of you had to work a second job, care for a sibling, or rebuild yourself without help, then maybe you'd understand the kind of strength that takes. He took Serena's hand firmly in his. This woman? She's not the one who doesn't belong here. You are. A stunned silence fell over the crowd. Then, from somewhere near the back, applause began. Eleanor stepped forward, clapping slowly, deliberately. David and Maria joined in. Gradually, others followed. Robert and George retreated, their faces flushed with embarrassment. Cameron turned to Serena, who stood speechless. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I didn't mean to make a scene." "Yes, you did," she replied, a smile breaking through her shock. "And it was magnificent." Before he could respond, Melissa appeared, fury etched on her perfect features. "Are you out of your mind? You just publicly humiliated the board." "No, Melissa," Cameron replied calmly. "They humiliated themselves with their outdated prejudices." "This is all your fault," Melissa hissed at Serena. "He was fine before you came along. He knew his place, his responsibilities." "His place," Serena echoed, finding her voice at last. "You mean under your thumb? Following the rules of a world that values appearances over authenticity?" "You know nothing about our world," Melissa sneered. "You're right," Serena agreed. "I don't belong in a world where people are judged by their bank accounts instead of their character. But neither does Cameron." "Oh, please," Melissa scoffed. "He's a Lawton. He was born for this world." "No," Cameron interrupted. "I was raised in it, but I've chosen a different path." He turned to Serena. "Let's get out of here." "But the gala," she began, "will survive without us." He glanced at Eleanor, who nodded her approval. "I've made my donation. I've said what needed saying. Now I want to be somewhere real, with you." They left to more whispers and stares, but Serena hardly noticed. In the car, she finally found her voice again. "Did you mean all that? About loving me?" "Every word," he said, taking her hands. "You weren't what I expected, Serena Hart. You're what I didn't know I needed." She smiled, softer this time. "And now that you found me?" "Now I learn how to stay," he said simply. "To build something real with you. Your board won't be happy." "They'll adapt," he said confidently. "Or I'll find a new board. I've been thinking about what you said, about a community center for kids. What if the Lawton Foundation funded something like that in your neighborhood? You'd do that?" "I want to use what I have to make a difference," he said. "You showed me how." When they reached her apartment, Cameron dismissed his driver. "I'll take a cab home later," he told the surprised man. Inside, Serena lit a candle. Simple, peaceful, so different from the glittering chaos of the gala. She kicked off her heels and sank onto her modest couch. Cameron sat beside her, loosening his bow tie, completely at ease. No tux, no gala, no pretending. "Are you okay?" she asked. "You just confronted your entire social circle for me." "Not for you," he corrected gently. "For us. For the life I want. One with meaning, with connection. With you. It won't be easy," she warned. "People like Melissa, the board members, they won't give up." "Let them try," he said, pulling her close. "I've found something worth fighting for." She rested her head on his shoulder, breathing in the moment. The gala seemed 1,000,000 miles away. Here in her small Brooklyn apartment with Cameron beside her, she felt at home, at peace. "What are you thinking?" he asked after a comfortable silence. "That life is strange," she replied honestly. "A month ago, I was serving drinks at a party, and now I'm in love with the man who saw me through the crowd." "Best thing I ever did," he murmured, kissing her temple. "Seeing you." "Cameron," she asked, looking up at him, "where do we go from here?" He considered the question carefully. "Wherever we choose. Together. Your world, my world, or something new we build for ourselves." "I vote for option 3, she said with a smile. "Me too," he agreed, kissing her softly. "It won't always be easy. Nothing worth having ever is," she replied. Outside her window, Brooklyn continued its nightly rhythm. People returning from work, families gathering for dinner, lives being lived honestly and without pretense. Inside, Serena and Cameron held each other, two people from different worlds who had found something rare and precious, a love based not on status or appearance, but on truly seeing each other. In the coming months, there would be challenges. The board would resist, gossip would continue, adjustments would be necessary. But that night, in the glow of a simple candle, none of that mattered. He had seen her through the crowd. She had seen the man behind the millionaire, and together they had found their way home. The end.